bad things about signing bad older players out of free agency to bad bargain rates is that they could do another bad thing to your roster. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Pirates 4, Yankees 3 yesterday in Tampa, Florida. Derek Hall with a 2-run home run in the 9th inning for the winning margin. Ji Hwan Bae has had an excellent spring by every conceivable measure. I've said many times to not focus on individual games or small sample sizes. Well, spring itself is a small sample size, but it's the only one you've got. And at the moment, through about a month of this stuff, Bae leads the Pirates in hits, leads the Pirates in runs, leads the Pirates in pretty much everything. He's batting .464 in 28 at-bats, 13 hits, 9 runs, a home run, 4 doubles, 3 RBIs, 3 steals. He's doing everything. He's doing everything. And he's capable of playing both infield and outfield positions, as we've seen. I think he's been better in the outfield, sometimes incredible in the outfield, not so much at all in the infield. I also don't care all that much about that because this team needs offense, and this team is not going to get offense, as we've discussed many times on this program, through power. It's just not going to be there. It's not going to be there for Bae either. But if you're getting on, if you're smacking the ball around, if you're doing damage on the base paths, and every once in a while you ram a liner somewhere or even one over the fence, like he did with his home run that was 410 feet to straightaway center, then you have a piece that you can't afford to be leaving behind. The problem is roster construction and roster rules being what they are, that tends to be a priority for some executives, and it's absolutely been a priority for Ben Cherington. Bae, to be more specific, has options remaining, which means that he can be sent to Indianapolis without having to pass through waivers. That's one. Tommy Pham was signed for some reason, presumably so it didn't look as if the Pirates made absolutely no moves in free agency to address their glaring hole in the outfield, but $4 million and change was committed to him for a year at age 37. He's having a terrible spring, and he's been banged up. But when this season opens, March 27 in Miami, it's going to be Pham out there, and it's going to be Bae, almost certainly, back in Indy. Why is that? Because at no stage of this process involving this management team, and for that matter, all the way up to ownership, is there ever urgency to win the game that's being played right in front of them. Yes, I'd keep Bae. I'd keep him around until he showed me that he wasn't doing the stuff that he'd been doing all through the spring. Because when you watch somebody do it for a month, even in a spring circumstance, that player carries confidence with them. And when that player makes the big league roster, when even he was sure that he had no chance, and believe you me, from the conversation he and I had going back about a month, he had no sense that he was going to get that kind of shot. Then, on top of everything else, you're riding high. You're excited. This is your big chance. You're going to put everything that you have into it. Unlike possibly a 37-year-old who's going to be playing for his 19th team or whatever it is with Pham and not going to be able to do the things that he's done for the previous 18 teams because, you know, he's a lot older now. You're tired of these kinds of arguments? Do you want to see something, feel something that's a little bit different? Okay, fine. Let's pay attention to how this gets handled. Let's pay attention to who, within reason, and I'm going to keep repeating this, spring stats aren't this or that or whatever, but we're now a month in, and performance is performance, and the pitchers are getting more serious, and everybody's beginning to prepare and play the way they would for a real game. So maybe Bae keeps up something like this. Maybe that's unrealistic. I don't know that he's a 450 hitter, considering he hit 189 in the majors last season over 74 at-bats. But I do know that before his arrival in Pittsburgh a couple of years ago, he was doing this at every level. And then he, like everybody else who would hit in the minors, would show up in Andy Haynes' Pittsburgh and pretty much just cease to exist. Maybe Bae has gotten better as a result of the new hitting instruction. Matt Haig and Daniel Vogelback in charge of that now. Maybe Bae's just done it all himself and it's to his credit. Either way, he's 25 years old. That's not young in prospect years. In fact, it kind of takes you out of prospect years, but it's also not old for an entry point into the majors. And maybe this is it. Yeah, I know he can go to Indy and do the same thing, but I'll bring up one other thing once more, and that's that those games in Miami, all 4 of them, and then those games in Tampa, all 3 of them, and then those games back up here against the Yankees, all 3 of them, they all count, or at least they're supposed to. Go with your best guys. Go with your hottest guys, even. Bae's been the hottest of anyone in camp, hitter or pitcher or what have you. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Phil, who says, "Hey DK, it's crazy to me that it seems like we still haven't heard any rumblings of a short leash for Ben Cherington and company. Is it possible that Bob Nutting is just trying to tread water until the next labor agreement, hoping for a salary cap system to be put in place?" Phil, I'm not sure what you mean by haven't heard any rumblings of a short leash, considering that the person who made that public was Ben Cherington himself. Go back to that awkward session last October when Cherington had a press conference with Pittsburgh-based reporters and described himself and Derek Shelton as being, and I quote directly here, accountable together, end quote, for the 2025 season. I don't know how much more plain he could have made that. I don't know how that could have been interpreted to mean something other than we both need to win or we are both gone. Because if you look at the circumstances of the 2024 season, how it ended, all the fuss and fuming that followed from the fan base, somebody more than the strength and conditioning coach and the hitting coach and the bullpen coach easily could have been, and I argued at the time should have been, gone. Instead, all of the people who mattered stayed. And that's almost always a sign that somebody's superior went to bat for them. I had heard from several people inside the organization that Derek Shelton was in big and very real trouble, and I'd heard that over the final 4 to 6 weeks of the regular season. I'd become convinced at one point that he was just a goner, that there was no chance of him keeping his job. Then, the next thing you know, they were accountable together. So I don't know if you were expecting to hear that from Nutting or Travis Williams, who is actually over Cherington's head in the structure, but that's not really the kind of thing that gets spoken anywhere. meaning something of that scenario. You're not going to have people saying, hey, you got to get it done right now or you're going to be out of here. It's just not a thing. So, I mean, I guess it's up to you. If you didn't take Charrington's statement that way, that's your call and I'll respect it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty unmistakable. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. Be back with another one of these tomorrow.